Now, body efficiency training is all about body dynamics. It's the efficiency of movement and structure in the body. And this is universal. It applies to everything. But today I want to take you through a simple movement that could be thought of as the most efficient movement for martial arts, all martial arts, including wrestling. But here, of course, I'm showing it in standing up. Now, it's a very simple movement. We can all do it. There I was just exploring around it, showing variations of it. But the movement itself is so simple. It's based on what I call the neutral stance, the neutral position in the body. But this is a neutral stance with 1 foot forward. So it's a forward stance. And that is, of course, very efficient in martial arts. 1 foot forward is well known to be the most efficient way of standing. But of course this also applies in wrestling because the dynamics comes from the spine. It comes from the spine extending to the hips and the shoulders, and it's controlled from the waistline. And that of course applies if you're lying down or standing up, creating twisting motions. Power from the spine is what you need in wrestling as well as boxing. And you can also think of this a bit like Jeet Kune Do, Bruce Lee's martial art, but he was trying to find the most efficient movement in combat. So I'm trying to find the most efficient movement for everything, universal body dynamics. But when you apply it to combat, it's something slightly different, and that's what I'm talking about here. But still, nevertheless, if you've got the correct body dynamics first, that's the universal thing, that will give you greater speed and greater power with more efficiency. And then you need to apply that to combat tactics. So they're two different things, body efficiency and combat tactics. And you need to put them together to actually do fighting. And we're just warming up now here, rolling the shoulders, twisting the spine we were doing earlier. But rolling the shoulders, this is all about moving the joints. You see, to get the power in the body, the efficiency in the body, it's about moving the bones, getting the bones in the right alignment. So it's not just rolling the shoulders, it's moving the shoulders in the socket. Up, down, left, right, backwards and forwards, even in and out. You're trying to activate the ligaments and the tendons. And the same here with the hips. It's not just moving the legs. What you're trying to do is rotate the hips and move the hip around in the socket, in the pelvis. So you're actually feeling a real stretch in the ligaments, the tendons themselves. And this training is all about that. It's about body posture and alignment, and it's about controlling the ligaments and the tendons more than the muscles. The ligaments are much more efficient, the tendons much stronger, much more elastic. So if you can strengthen those and mobilize your joints, it gives a much more efficient body, and in particular for martial arts. So now here we're lifting up the hip, try and pull the hip back, but then as you rotate the hip out, you push the hip forward. So again, it's not just rotating the hip, you're trying to move the hip around in the socket. And if you pull the hip backwards, you gain a greater mobility, more rotation in the hip. And the same applies for the shoulder. If you hold the shoulder up and back, you'll gain greater mobility in rotating the shoulder around, and you will activate the scapula. So it's about activating the bones, the joints, opening up the joints, stretching open the joints. That means you activate the ligaments and the tendons, and that creates an elasticity, a bounce in the body. And if we can get that, it's very efficient in martial arts. That's what gives you the speed and the power. But the power comes from the structure, alignment. And here what we're doing is a very basic horse riding stance, just warming up with a traditional posture. But again, this is not just traditional, it's universal. And a universal punching technique here, again, you'll recognize this from traditional martial arts. But modern fighting, they sort of don't take this so seriously, but really it should be. This is about posture and body structure. And that is what creates the efficiency. You see a vertical spine, belly pulled in, shoulders up and back. And I'm just doing a very easy movement, twisting the hands, punching forward, and twisting the spine a little bit. But again, the hips are stationary, it's just the spine, the oblique muscles holding the belly in, the navel pulls towards the spine. This will support the lumbar. And now again, always loosen up with this little twisting exercise. But here again, tall spine, rib cage open a little bit, tilted slightly backwards, belly pulled in. Now we're going to do the movement again a bit slower. But here what we're working on is the power in the structure. So lift the shoulders up and back first of all. So you've got to hold the shoulders up and back. So that requires a little bit of work, but it's in the ligaments, the tendons. And at the same time now, you hold the shoulder up and back, but as you extend the hand, you're slowly also trying to push the shoulder down and forward. But you don't let it go all the way down and forward. You're creating an isometric tension, holding the shoulder up and back, and at the same time squeezing the shoulder down and forward, whilst maintaining this vertical spine, the neutral spine. And you, again, rib cage slightly open, tilted upwards, belly pulled in. The belly's got to be pulled in. This will protect the solar plexus also. I talk about this in some of my previous videos on breathing. But basically what we're doing here is isometric tension, slow motion punching, trying to control the spinal alignment and the positioning of the shoulders. Now moving on to the elbow, just do this little exercise here, flicking out the arms. Again, you flick out the elbows, but catch it. So you catch the movement, and you'll feel it works the elbow joint, the tendons in the elbow. Now slow motion, twist the little finger up, and you'll feel the elbows pull in towards each other. Then keep the elbows in, but turn the wrists over and create a loose fist like this. So the elbows are pulled in, but the wrists twist over. So pull back, elbows twist in. As you extend forward, wrist twist out, but the elbows stay in. So what you're doing is creating a tension between the elbow down to the wrist, the forearm tendons. And you'll feel the ligaments here, the tendons at your elbow activate as you bend and straighten the arm, keeping the elbow stationary but twisting the wrist. So again, you're creating tension down the forearm towards the wrist from the elbow. Now this is very efficient. What we're doing is the final part of a punch. The final extension comes from the elbow tendons themselves. And you can actually do a very short strike just like that from the elbow only. Now here's the movement I'm talking about. It's just standing up in an upright stance here, 1 foot forward, 1 back, and you're just twisting a little bit from the spine and letting the arms move forward and backwards. This very simple punching, left-right punching. But you see the vertical stance, that allows you to pivot efficiently. You're sinking a bit into the hips, so that allows you to shift your weight forward and backwards through the hips. And then here you see the arms, just the elbow only. There's the extension from the elbow that we were doing. So there's a short punch. Elbow only, just flicking the tendons. Now the shoulder, you can see the shoulder moves together with the elbow, creates a punch, and then you combine it together with the spine and the whole body. Now here, again, here's the movement, we're just doing it together, and you can see, very simple. You're just shifting your weight forward and backwards, twisting, with a little extension and contraction of the arms. So again, it's not about doing an actual martial arts move. Don't think about this as fighting just yet. It's just feeling a movement through the body. A vertical spine, there's the vertical spine, belly pulled in, again rib cage open, shoulders up and back, a slight extension in the hips. You let your weight shift backwards and forwards through the hips, a twist through the spine. You're basically creating a kinetic chain. Whole body moves together. This is all about unifying the body into a single structure and moving it in a flow. And ultimately this becomes a kinetic chain. The movement comes from the spine and will extend out through the arms and the legs. But you can see how this basic movement, you can do anything. Anything will come from here. And now we're just essentially trying to put it together as a simultaneous block and punch. And again, your weight can be forward or backwards as you twist. Either way round, it's quite a universal movement. You see again, vertical spine, shifting forward and back, with a slight extension into the punch. Again, whole body movement. Now I'm also coming a bit onto the toes, so I'm bouncing a bit in the ankles. Gives you a bit more movement. I can shuffle. Again, shift my weight, move a bit. Again, allow the hips to move, leg can come up. You can see how different punches can come out, different kicks can come out. And again, you've got to imagine a bit, but I'll do more about it in time with wrestling. The same principle movement will work lying down, upside down, wherever you are. The twisting from the spine generates power through the arms and the legs, pulling and pushing. Again, here you're pushing, but you can also see pulling. One is pulling, one is pushing. It's a universal movement. And again, you can think of it as the foundation of all martial arts. And if you look at Bruce Lee's Jeet Kune Do, again, he builds up his martial art very similar to this. His whole thing is just about striking fast as possible. Again, it's about efficiency. How do you get the first strike in? And he barely even bothers with blocking, no defense, just attack. And again, you can think of it like this because the movement is so efficient, you've got a block and an attack both at the same time. So now I'm just trying to show some of these little principles of attacking with efficiency. So, say he's doing a punch here, I evade and punch back at the same time. So you can see how this movement extends. I'm shuffling, moving, but it's the same thing, twisting and extending. Now all I'm doing is attacking, but I'm attacking across his punch, so that will deflect his punch, and so that I deflect it, but I still hit him at the same time. Again, efficiency. It's what Bruce Lee calls the way of the intercepting fist. So I'm intercepting. Same thing here now. I'm just dodging with the head, but counter-striking. So you can see how this movement builds up to all sorts of striking martial arts. Evasion, moving. Again, you've got to allow yourself to move. Your spine can move. You've got to duck, dodge, turn, but always spring back to this basic position. So I hope this made sense. Please do leave me any questions or comments, and I look forward to seeing you in any of these other videos here.